And we are live. Welcome to the Square Show, one of the limited edition last chill streams. Figured I'd check out some content, maybe go over it. Not a lot of people care for this guy.
How many people out there have used a rideshare service? You know, where you get on your phone and essentially...
I have. Matter of fact, I did when I was in rehab, and I used to work for one after I got back in rehab.
We summon a car, and someone who's driving it, you have no idea who they are, and they have no idea who you are. It could be a terrorist for all you know, and you could be a complete idiot for all they know. Yep. I've done it a few times, and I have to say, if there is a job out there that puts you in a more vulnerable position, I don't want to know what it is. You have your back to passengers that, once again, you have no idea who they are and what they're capable of, and you have to be relatively focused forward. I know if I did it, I would have a camera pointed at the people behind me just so I can see what they're doing with their hands back there. Because at the end of the day, I really don't want to take a knife to the neck. I don't want to be pepper sprayed.
This is why it's good to have, the forward and front dash cams and all that. Even maybe to have a back dash cam.
Check, I'm giving a ride home is thrown up off the side of my vehicle. You know, common stuff that happens in these services. Pretty sure it's
more than likely an XR or one equivalent to it that has capabilities of the video data going on the cloud. That way they can't destroy your camera or steal it.
Their marketing. Drive a car, and you're going to have to get your back seat detailed every week to get all the throw up out of there. But drive for us, please.
No, that you don't. Nobody gets in with liquor.
If there is one thing in the Second Amendment community that we believe, it's that no one is coming to save you. It's up to us and only us to protect our life, our families, and our wealth. As we've seen recently, banks are falling left and right, and the government is discussing taking total control of your money with this new digital dollar. Don't let your life savings become a casualty of falling corporations and currency wars. Now is the time to call the only precious metals dealer I trust, American Hartford Gold. They will show you how to protect your. It will give you 4-4 on their decide to get a lift. Now, for those of you who don't know, it is a ride. And let me just say that this Lyft driver is very lucky. I mean, very, very lucky. Yeah, we're having a good time. No, we're not. I don't even think you are. I think you're just so dumb that I don't even know. It's just a human life up there. I mean, no? Okay. So I have a few questions before we get any further here. Somehow you're smoking a
what the fuck?
Joint in this man's vehicle. First clear sign of disrespect, right?
Hell no, that's straight up federal illegal possession of firearms right there.
What does that smell back there? Oh, you got that new skunk perfume? Well, it smells like shit. Get out. But while these two women are having the time of their life, did they possibly think about what their actions are doing to someone else? Like, what if this guy got pulled over directly after these two chicks got dropped off? Hello,
DUI?
Sir. License and registration, please. Sir, you been smoking weed tonight? No? Okay. Well, I see smoke just kind of floating around, hanging out in your back seat. So why don't you just go ahead and step out for me? It's a very real possibility. You're not filtering all that out just by rolling the windows down for a little bit. It's going to stick to your seats, probably the mask on your face, your clothes. I mean, it's a realistic possibility. But no, it does not threaten your life in any way. And you have your finger on the trigger. Also, you're smoking weed.
Bad trigger discipline.
And you're probably drunk. Look, I've never hit a woman, and I don't believe in it, but I would make an exception on this one. Especially if somehow I didn't have a gun in this situation. Ma'am, put the gun down. Put the gun down! Like, what do you do in a situation like that? I would have hit her so hard, she would have flew into the car next to me. Point the gun at that guy, not me. Second question I have for the ma'am holding the gun. Have you heard of a negligent discharge? I'm not talking about like women's stuff. I'm talking about with a gun. No? No? Still no? Okay. All right, well, let's continue.
Unfortunately, I know what it is.
Yeah. Just have a
negligent, accidental. It's both. It's all considered the same.
Conversation with him while you're about to drive a 9 right through his rib cage.
You ever heard of what they call it? Columbia?
I'm sorry, what did you say? Colombians?
Columbia?
Well, this guy's a human and he's alive. He's driving a car, so he can't be that much of a dumbass. So, yes, I think he probably has heard of a Colombian before. But thanks for checking, ma'am.
Columbus? Columbus, huh? Columbus?
Are you saying kill llamas?
Columbus?
Like after you possibly shoot this Lyft driver, y'all are just like headed to the zoo or something. You're expecting a llama to just spit right in your face because honestly, what llama wouldn't?
Nom, nom, nom.
And then you're just going to take your 9 out and do one of these Colombians. Boom. Oh, that's not what you meant either? Okay, we'll continue, please.
Columbus? Columbus, huh? Columbus? You never heard of Columbus, Georgia? Columbus, Georgia? No.
Oh, you meant Columbus, Georgia. I apologize, but he's going to learn today. ...
Okay, you don't learn about it if you don't get to the beach.
Ladies, you know when you were in school as a kid and you did something wrong and you came home and dad was like, hey, look, you're a f***ing idiot. Stop doing that. Well, you guys didn't make him proud. Clearly a couple idiots, but I'm curious as to how this guy didn't see the gun. I mean, she's waving it around like it's her bra at an AC/DC concert. Probably sitting there like, oh my God, just drop him off. The f*** did she just say? Regardless, let's say that this woman did have an ill intention towards this man to actually shoot him. Let's look at Lyft's rules as far as if they let you have.
Technically, they're not. No, that it's and of course, different states though. I believe there are. I mean, it's been a while that I have been subscribed to all the ride sharing channels I used to be on my old account. When I was working back before I first came on YouTube, but I remember one of the issues is that technically you weren't allowed to carry, and so I never did, and of course I had my weapon back then, but I never did because what I ended up doing instead was I got a flashlight taser, and I almost decided, that time when I had a gun pointed at me in traffic over in Memphis, I had almost decided that time, like, fuck this. I need, from in that road rage incident, like I should start carrying, but I didn't. And, so I just done that. But yeah, there's been pushes to, allow, rideshare drivers, and, even if it's not still by policy allowed, there are Lyft drivers out there, especially when you get into the big cities, or Uber drivers who do not give a shit about that policy, and they are going to carry anyway. But they're the ones that are responsible. Like, you don't hear about it unless somebody tries to rob them or whatever, and then they have to unfortunately use it. Now, obviously, you're going to have one person out of the whole bunch that's going to make it bad by doing something similar to what this person's doing, only not as a passenger, but maybe as a driver. Like, you're always going to have this example. This person thinking something that's serious is a game, that is a loaded, probably more than likely loaded in the chamber, deadly firearm. And there's, laughing, jiggling around with it, finger, not, keeping, there's no control at all, hardly being exercised over this.
a gun in your own personal vehicle? Oh, that's a big no.
No, it does not allow drivers to carry weapons. No. So,
I'm sorry. Does Lyft own your vehicle when you drive for them? Well,
no, they don't.
Then them. It's your safety. You go through a background check with them to drive. You don't have a criminal record. If you
Exactly. So, if I could have drove for Lyft and I don't have a criminal record, I wish people would stop trying to say my criminal record is what precludes me.
Gun in your vehicle helps you feel safe, especially after something like this. Keep one in there. So the moral of the story is, folks, we don't need gun control. You can't fix stupid.
And this is why it's important to always use the Fifth Amendment, especially in self-defense situations. Everyone remembers the Kyle Rittenhouse trial.
But yet you have
This is the egghead prosecutor. Yeah, he's an egghead.
previously indicated that you wished you had your AR-15 to protect someone's property, correct?
I'm going to ask you to go into the library again for a moment, please. Please don't talk about the case.
There goes the jury.
All right, so once again, jury being told to leave the room here for a moment. The judge, once again, having an issue here with the prosecutor in the way that these questions are being formed and some of the questions and evidence that is being brought up here. So we are going to hear from the judge here in just a moment as he talks to the prosecutor and the state here on how to proceed here. Gave him a warning before. Let's listen.
Mr. Richard?
Your Honor, Mr. Binger is either forgetting the court's rulings or attempting to provoke a mistrial on this matter. He knows he can't go into this, and he's asking the questions. I asked the court to strongly admonish him, and the next time it happens, I'll be asking for a mistrial with prejudice. He's an experienced attorney, and he knows better.
Mr. Binger?
First of all, Your Honor, this was
Mr. Binger.
the subject of a motion. I'm well aware of that.
You can see how he comes off. This was the subject of a motion. I'm well aware of that.
And the court left the door open.
For me, not for you.
Oh.
My understanding of
You should have come and asked for
Doesn't matter what your understanding is.
for reconsideration. You did on the one motion, and in fact, I granted your motion for reconsideration.
That was not a motion.
Excuse me. I did. I granted.
We did not move
That
to
was
reconsider.
their motion.
We have not filed any motions to reconsider in this case.
That was their motion for reconsideration, which I denied. But I said I denied it, or I indicated a bias towards denial is what I did. Held it open with a bias towards denial. Why would you think that that made it okay for you without any advance notice to bring this matter before the jury? I was astonished when you began your examination by commenting on the defendant's post-arrest silence. That's basic law. It's been basic law in this country for 40 years, 50 years. I have no idea why you would do something like that. And it gives, well, I'll leave it at that. So I don't know what you're up to.
May I respond?
Ooh, man. Like a prosecutor trying to actually use the defendant's silence against him. Like,
Yes.
I couldn't believe that to hear that. Just
We filed another acts motion on this exact issue because in my mind, and I argued this, it is identical to what was going on the night of August 25th, in the sense that the defendant was using this exact same weapon. He was using it in a manner to try and protect property.
No, he wasn't.
Your Honor, with all due respect,
I'm not going to rehash the motion. That's absolutely untrue. No. Your argument's of record. My comments are of record, and why I ruled as I did is of record. There's nothing that I heard in this trial to suggest that anything's changed. Even if you're correct in your assumption that you know more than I did at the time, you should have come to the court and say, I want to go into this. Why you would think that you could go into it without any advance notice to the court, I don't understand that. And as the defense is pointing out, you're an experienced trial lawyer, and this should not have been going into.
Your Honor, there have been things in this case, testimony in this case, that I believe opens the door to this. For example, the defense has introduced evidence that the defendant pointed a gun at a man wearing yellow pants because that person was on a car, on the car source lot. Now, there's no justification that I can think of why the defendant would point that gun at someone. The defendant has just testified this morning that he agreed with that person in the yellow pants, that he pointed the gun at him. He said, I was joking when I said that to the guy in the yellow pants, but he said, he's acknowledged that he told the person in the yellow pants, yeah, you're right. I did point a gun at you when you were sitting on a car.
He said, I did. That's what
Exactly.
he said.
So he's agreeing. May I finish, please? I'd like to have a chance to make a record if I could, without being interrupted, if that's okay. He has mentioned.
Smart ass.
He's acknowledged that he's used this gun to protect property. He's also just acknowledged that he knows he can't do that. I am attempting to impeach him now with the prior August 10th incident, 15 days prior, involving the same gun, where he is threatening to use that gun to protect property. It goes.
He didn't have the gun with it.
Your Honor, he's saying he wished he did so he could shoot people.
It's not the same as having it.
You know, there's a lot of difference between commenting about something when you haven't got a gun and threatening someone when you do.
You know, it's interesting, Your Honor, because the entire defense theory in this case is Joseph Rosenbaum, who was unarmed.
I want you to tell me what the defense theory of the case is. I want.
May I respond to what you just said, Your Honor? I'd like to respond to what you just said.
Damn, even the court reporter said, can you slow down?
I apologize, Madam Court Reporter, but I'd like to try and make a record without anyone interrupting me, if that's okay. I believe that there is a central part of this case. Mr. Rosenbaum is making threats that he has no ability to carry out. So, to your point, Your Honor, you're arguing that this August 10th incident, one aspect of why you don't believe it's relevant is the defendant didn't have the gun with him. This case is about someone who didn't have a weapon, and yet the jury is being told because of those threats, that means the defendant has to defend himself. So, with all due respect, Your Honor, mere verbal threats have already been shown to this jury and used as a basis for someone's subsequent actions. I am attempting with the defendant to use his mere verbal threat on August 10th, 15 days prior, that he's going to shoot shoplifters with his AR-15 to impeach the defendant in a murder trial. I would ask the court's forbearance to do that. I apologize, Your Honor. You're right. I probably should have brought this to your attention earlier. I may have misunderstood your ruling because
No, you're trying to weasel.
thought your ruling was if the evidence in this case made that more relevant, you would admit it or at least consider it an admittance. I believe, based on the evidence that we've heard, and more specifically exactly what the defendant said earlier about admitting pointing a gun at someone who was merely jumping or sitting on a car, that the door is open now to this testimony. And I continue to believe that his state of mind, his intent, his belief as to self-defense is the core of this case. That was the basis for my motion. You were strongly inclined against it. I understand that. But now we're in the middle of trial, and there's been a lot of evidence that's come in that I think makes this relevant. So I'm attempting to impeach the defendant on his beliefs. I believe I'm entitled to impeach the defendant on his beliefs and on his statements.
I'm going to interrupt you now because you're talking about his beliefs. I think that's what they call
his statements to, Your Honor. Because he just said, can't use deadly force, can't threaten to use deadly force to protect property. So now I'm impeaching him on that.
Your Honor, the court has seen no reason to change its ruling. And just so this record is clear, in spite of the lengthy statement by Mr. Binger, before we started today, the court specifically stated in Mr. Binger's presence, there's been nothing to have me change any of my rulings. There have been numerous occasions during this trial where they've opened the door. The one time when they're going into Mr. Rosenbaum's prior, the reason he doesn't like guns, and I said something, I whispered in Mr. Krause's ear, it's because of the prior convictions. Please stop. And he did. He knows if you're going to go into something that's been excluded in a pretrial order, you better ask the court, you better get permission. This is ridiculous.
It wasn't excluded, Your Honor.
You know why it was excluded in the first place? Because it was propensity evidence. That is exactly what 90404 is designed to prevent. You're talking about his attitudes. His attitude is he wants to shoot people. Now, I've admitted that kind of evidence in other trials when it's been appropriate. I didn't admit it in this case because, to me, what I've heard in this trial, and by the way, Mr. Richards absolutely correctly points out that just hours ago, I said I had heard nothing in this trial to change any of my rulings. So why?
Testimony, Your Honor.
Pardon me?
That was before the
Don't
defense testimony.
get brazen with me.
Don't get brazen with me.
You knew very well. You know very well that an attorney can't go into these types of areas when the judge has already ruled without asking outside the presence of the jury to do so. So don't give me that. That's number one.
Number two.
This is propensity evidence.
Propensity
I said at the time
evidence.
that I made my ruling, and I'll get again now for you. I see no similarity between talking about wishing you had your AR gun, which you don't have, so that you could fire rounds at these thought to be shoplifters, and the incidents in these cases, which are not, there's nothing in your case that suggests the defendant was lying in wait to shoot at somebody or reflecting upon the shooting for a vast amount of time. Every one of the incidents involves matters that involve seconds in time.
Mm-hmm.
So I commented at the time, I don't see the similarity, and I don't see the similarity now. If it's not similar, that's the whole rule. Those are all the exceptions to 90404. Check the authorities. Wigmore and evidence. Judge Weinstein. Colonel McCormick. It's the prior act has to bear the signature of the accused, or it has to be so similar as to suggest it's a common plan or something like that. You have an incident where he's making comments about some alleged shoplifters versus crimes that involve instantaneous actions, whether premeditated murder or whether self-defense, that's for the jury to decide. But I don't see the similarity. I said it couldn't come in, and it isn't coming in. No matter what you think.
Yeah.
Number two, I have to be concerned that with what Mr. Richards has said about the progress of the trial, and when you were I said you were over the line close to or over the line on commenting on the defendant's pretrial silence, which is a well-known rule. I'm astonished that would have been an issue. So I don't want to have another issue as long as this case continues. Is that clear?
It is.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Your jury number, please.
54.
54. And has the jury reached a verdict as to each count of the information?
Yes, we have, Your Honor.
One verdict and one verdict only.
Yes.
We hand all the paperwork to the bailiff, please.
This is the one that you didn't know.
Everything.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks. May I see that too, please, Mrs. Chairman? Thank you.
The defendant will rise, face the jury, and hearken to its verdicts.
State of Wisconsin versus Kyle Rittenhouse. As to the first count of the information, Joseph Rosenbaum. We, the jury, find the defendant Kyle H. Rittenhouse not guilty. As to the second count of the information, Richard McGinnis. We, the jury, find the defendant Kyle H. Rittenhouse not guilty. As to the third count of the information, unknown male. We, the jury, find the defendant Kyle H. Rittenhouse not guilty. As to fourth count of the information, Anthony Huber. We, the jury, find the defendant Kyle H. Rittenhouse not guilty. As to the fifth count of the information, Gage Grosskreutz. We, the jury, find the defendant Kyle H. Rittenhouse not guilty.
Members of the jury, are these your unanimous verdicts? Is there anyone who does not agree with the verdicts as read? Would you wish the jury polled? Okay. Okay, folks, your job is done, and we started just about 3 weeks ago. And I told you it could last 2 weeks and 2 days. This is 2 weeks. This is 3 weeks. You were a wonderful jury to work with. You were punctual. You were attentive.
Oh, yeah, you could tell he was really affected by that. Joseph Rosenbaum was the pedophile.
Routinely carries a homemade medical kit and had one with him in Kenosha.
If someone was hurt, Kyle would be right there helping you.
Kyle had ties to Kenosha, including a family friend, Dominic Black. Black, then 18, bought Kyle's gun for him in the
Township 911, what's the address of your emergency?
On July 18th, Kenosha police responded to a call about domestic violence involving Swart and Rosenbaum.
Dude, just basically went off, she's bleeding everywhere and bruises on her. And
according to court records and interviews with Swart and a witness, Rosenbaum yelled at Swart and body slammed her to the ground.
To protect this business, and part of my job is also helping. If there's somebody hurt, I'm running.
Defend the property.
Yes, we are. Hey, no, if I can ask, can you guys step back? Medical, EMS right here. I'm an EMP.
And helping people
there's Rosenbaum.
just after 11 p.m. He is shouting at armed civilians at a gas station and helping people push a flaming dumpster. The images include Rosenbaum and Rittenhouse as they pass by each other without incident. Rittenhouse is filmed while standing on the edges of an armed group of men arguing with protesters. Rosenbaum, his shirt wrapped around his head, is looking as well.
Back away from the business. Back away from the business.
Police riding in an armored car break up the crowd. Rosenbaum leaves the area and is swinging a chain. Officers give water to Rittenhouse and those around him.
We appreciate you guys, we really do.
Rittenhouse walks away from the car dealership to offer medical help.
Anybody need medical? Medical.
Well, yesterday or today?
Today. Dude, he just had up the gun. Come on, get off the car. Not talking about
Rosenbaum and Rittenhouse each make their way to a nearby gas station. Officers prevent Rittenhouse from returning to his original post. At 11:44, police scanners report people trying to burn vehicles at another lot owned by CarSource. Dispatchers urge police to use caution.
We've seen at least 4 people with handguns running around here.
2 minutes later, Rittenhouse hurries away from the gas station holding a fire extinguisher. He slows to a walk. Rosenbaum, walking in the same direction, begins to run towards Rittenhouse. Rosenbaum throws a plastic bag at Rittenhouse. Swartz said the bag contained items from Rosenbaum's stay at the hospital. As they're running, someone nearby fires a gun. 4 other shots explode, and Rosenbaum falls. 3 more shots are heard. Rittenhouse runs around parked cars and looks at Rosenbaum. He calls black, according to court records, then runs away.
Keep the pressure on there, man.
Bystanders attempt to help Rosenbaum. They carry him to an SUV which transports him to the hospital across the street.
It looks like they got an injured person.
Rittenhouse approaches officers with his arms up, but the police drive by him.
Five, 6, 9 PD. We got somebody down in the middle of the road. CPR on property.
Trying to home, and they were already there. And I got in the house. I saw Kyle. He's pale white.
And you're grown fucking men at that doing it, Wade. Because we know you made an account under Cameron's name and tried to start a big bunch of fucking trouble. Yes, we know about that. You admitted to it and then told his mommy, I'm sorry if I caused Joe any problems. Well, what the fuck do you think it was causing, you idiot?
Huh.
Like, fuck. You want to act like you're all motherfucking innocent in this shit. Fuck no, you're not. And then want to throw up your sickness. Like, stop.
Make money. It's all about money. But them are running any chance of us ever making a dime or any.
No, they ain't gonna stop me.
They try to.
I know they try. I know they try.
They run me with my paintings. They run me with my fucking. They run a lot of things for me.
I know. What time is it? Because I gotta keep an eye on what time that cake is. Is that my tea in the freezer or yours? But yeah, sad that grown men are that invested in y'all's life. Yes, it's awful. Oh, sorry guys.
I'm here.
That was an important message that I had to take. It had to do with what we done today. That pop in. Yeah. Kentucky, howdy and sunny. Wade wishes he was anybody but himself.
I agree with that.
Wade Deaver doesn't even own a BMX bike.
I'll smack a woman.
I'm just a stupid son of a bitch.
I eat a bunch of dicks all the time.
Saying something about somebody having fucking cancer,
Tell them not to say anything about my dead mother, my dead dog, or talk about me getting fucked in the ass by.
Damn. Some of them got to be made up or edited. I know the sucky dick one is. Probably all of them are. I'm cleaning something out real quick. I hate having OCD sometimes because you get something almost basically as clean as it possibly can get, but there's always more, you see. It's almost kind of like somebody looks at you while it's happening naturally, they could almost like think like, are you tweaking or something? No, I just got OCD bad. I was really hyper one day, hadn't I was, coming down trying to take less Ativan, so that was probably another thing that helped or made it more intense. And man, I remember I was doing a vid or a stream one day, and that's what they were speculating. I was like, after all this time, I was like, shit, y'all know damn well better that I had, number one, back when I was even an active addict, I never did do uppers, wasn't my thing. I mean, I did them. I'm not going to say I didn't ever experiment because everybody experimented when they were young. Maybe not every single person, but most people, when they're younger, experiment in some type of way, whether it's with alcohol, sex, drugs, or a combination of all three, or one or two of the other. That's just what happens. And so the time that I tried a stimulant first time was in high school. I didn't like it because it made my chest, it felt like I was coming almost up out of my body in a way. And after being up for the first couple of days, when I went to school that day and going up the stairs, like the energy and tiredness in my legs was unreal. Like I felt like I was about to collapse, fall down, like I could just like fall straight down and relax right there on the floor, and I'd feel good. Like that's how tired I felt from it. So it was not a good experience, and that was just one Adderall pill. But I found out later on, it wasn't like the lowest. It was shit. It was a 30. It was a 30 milligram extended release. And of course, the guy that gave it to me was somebody that later on ended up bullying, Like that's the thing. Even when I was around and kind of like, I guess you could say, benefiting just by being around with money and stuff, like I had these guys who acted friendly and they knew like I was like lightweight or not as hip as they were on stuff, and they would sit there and use that shit against me. Like I'll never forget the time where they took my fucking car because they were like, try these, you know, and it was the first time I'd taken Xanax, and it was 4 blue Xanaxes, and I had no tolerance. Never taken benzo, probably, except for in the hospital setting or whatever. I had already started having panic attacks and stuff, but of course they didn't start me out on benzos. I'd only been taking that thing called Buspar. So I took those 4 blues, not knowing what was going to happen, you know, thinking I was going to have a good time. Not that they were tranquilizers or anything. And my ass goes like night night. I'm talking about completely out. As soon as we get back, I sit in this fucking recliner and I'm gone. Huh. Like I'm asleep. Like, and that's why I think it's funny because people have talked about just because whenever I fall asleep on stream, the same people that now say they don't care if I OD, they were worried that acting like they were worried that I was going to OD on stream. But here I am in the presence of not 1, 2, but about 3 people, and I'm in a chair. They know what I've taken, you know, and know that it's not much, at least compared to them and what all knowledge they have about this stuff. And they cannot get me awake. Not one time did they fear I was overdosing. And I had brought that up. I was like, what if I had died? And they're like, oh no, bro, man, you were breathing fine. They're like, hell, you even were trying to talk. They said, but you just would not get up. It was like, we slapped your ass. Like one of my so-called friends, he's like, man, I slapped the shit out you, dude. He's like, you was not getting up. He's like, and we had to go. So I was like, so what do you mean you had to go? He's like, well, we put you out in the car and we went over to what's his name's house. I was like, you did what? Man, you talk about being pissed. Like, oh yeah, we just randomly took your car while you was fucked up and asleep. And then when we got back, they'd bring me out the car, put me back in the house in the chair where I fell asleep at, and they start talking about they're like your grandparents started to call, and you know it was late at night, and everything else, and yeah, we need to file FBI cybercrimes report. I'm gonna check out Books from Moses to see he put out something lately, but yeah, man, it was crazy. I mean, uh,
he feels like he did something, he angered you or something, and apparently since you know nothing gets under his skin, he's gonna keep on talking about you and Bird and Gene for I guess the rest of his life, because obviously y'all didn't do nothing to bother him, you know. Nothing. You never said nothing to Naughty to bother him. Yeah, they said they were gonna rip freaking Janet's nipple off and put it on a pepperoni and pineapple pizza. And I was like, gross. And I was like, what, you don't like nipples? Like, no, I don't like pineapples on my pizza. Like, what the hell? But some guy, he was like, I'm gonna rip off her nips and put it on a pizza and freaking.
That's a little too far.
You know, get all DiGiorno's with it. I didn't know, dude. I don't know why the fuck they sent me that, but It is what it is. You know what I'm saying?
The hell you talking about, boy? You making something up, ain't you?
I don't know who sent me that clip, but don't ever send me that shit again, whoever you were. I don't want to see that shit. God damn.
Oh, he probably does know.
It's crazy when fucking Naughty looks like the girl and his wife looks like the freaking boy in the relationship or whatever. They're from California. They get all weird out there. I'm not trying to get, you know, a felony by misgendering anybody. You know how Naughty gets down. He's gonna call the police. Or he's gonna get his friends up there to call the police on you.
Yeah, out there in California, it'd be crazy.
I'm just saying, Naughty, you know.
They wish I lived in California.
So you just can't go around making all these demands. Like, you know what I mean? I want my own bathroom. I want
or Maryland or one of them type of states, but I don't.
I want my wife to stop sweating profusely. Like, come on, dude. Like, I don't know. Anywho, Casey, yeah, somebody said Naughty's a fucking space pig and he sucks dick. So nobody even cares. Did you see that little faggy picture he put up riding his little motorcycle with his motorcycle buddy? Ooh, I'm so pretty. I'm Naughty. Fucking faggot. Look like a fucking meatball with a helmet on. You know what I'm saying? You fat fuck.
A meatball with a helmet.
And then who was that guy he was riding with? You're the most dorkest motorcycle club member. Who was that guy? Did you see that guy? That looked like a fucking dweeb.
Like, surely not.
You want to ride motorcycles and do my fucking long division homework? Jesus Christ.
Tell me the dude was riding next to him.
But it is what it is. I really went live to say this. Squizzy act like he want to tell me something, but Squizzy, you don't have an Instagram. I checked.
Right.
Squizzy, every time I try to get you up on the panel, you don't want to do it. I want to talk to you behind the scenes, Squizzy. I always thought that was weird. I never talked to people behind the scenes unless it was on Instagram, into which I'm in a group of motherfuckers on there. So it's not like talking to them one-on-one.
We don't have to be
Squizzy, if you got something you want to say, man, just next time I'm doing the panel, get up here and say it, man. I mean, damn. I told you I wasn't going to kick you. AC said she was going to be quiet. I think Bird had left at that point. I don't even know if Bird was up there, but, you know, come on, dude. Stop being that way, man. Damn.
I can't talk about it. Talk about it.
I would just say stop being that way, dude. If you really got something you want to say, man, just go ahead and say it. Stop being that way, dude. Like, goddamn. But I don't know. That's just me. Like I said, I'm just a nigga from Louisiana. That's how I solve my problems. I just get up there and I talk to the person about whatever problem it is. So you know.
You do it.
I don't know what to say. I don't know, man. I noticed as soon as Squizzy put that mushroom behind his name, man, I was like, oh shit. You know what I'm saying?
Man, I just did it for the fun of it. Don't mean this.
I would say a lot of people with the mushrooms behind their names. And I'm not sure if it's like, because I know they legalized mushrooms this year, right?
They didn't.
You know, I think what was that? January the 2nd? May have been the first, but the beginning of this year, they legalized psilocybin mushrooms, the ones that get you high. So I know everybody's like, oh, we got a new drug we can play with without going to jail. So everybody's, you know, all mushroomed out. I just think some of the people with the mushroom behind their names, they're like in all one clique. They don't necessarily do mushrooms. They just like identify with like, I don't know, something in particular. So they put the mushroom behind their name. And I've been seeing a lot of people with that shit. And I think everybody with a mushroom behind their name is a fucking rat and a snitch and a bitch. So if you got a mushroom behind your name and you come in my chat, I do think you're a rat and a bitch and a snitch. And if you have a chat.
Well, fuck you too, Brooks and Moses. What the fuck is that? That's some weird shit. Hold on. Illegal in Missouri. Illegal. All right, they're illegal in Tennessee, so I don't know where you heard that book, but they have not. Psilocybin is federally up there with marijuana and heroin and everything else. It's a Schedule 1. I don't know why you would think psilocybin had been made legal. They would probably do that with weed before they would do that with mushrooms. Now in Colorado, you got places you can use it. California and Oregon, it's fully decriminalized. Washington select. Michigan and Rhode Island. No, that's Massachusetts. It's decriminalized. Huh. I was in Massachusetts. I didn't know that.
It's shit, rat shit, and fuck shit.
Alright, I'll take the damn mushroom off my name. Like I said, the mushroom is just a fucking fad, I thought.
So I don't let rats get on my panel. Like I remember a rat tried to come get on my panel. I'm like, pay your little money, you rat. And they didn't have, I guess, they didn't snitch on nobody that week, so they didn't get no fucking reward money, so they couldn't get on the panel. That's how y'all do them.
Well, if they did, wouldn't they use it on drugs? 'Cause I thought there are people like that, usually junkies. Oh shit, I fucking fucked it up.
Feels like he did something, he angered you or something, and apparently don't ever send me that shit again, whoever you were. I don't want to see that shit. Jesus Christ. Them niggas real nerds. But it is what it is, though. I really went live to say this. Squizzy act like he want to tell me something.
Same. I already heard that.
Off my problems. I just get up there and I talk to the person about whatever problem it is. So,
I ain't got a problem.
I'm mushroomed out, but I just think some of the people with the mushroom behind their names, they're like in all one click. They don't necessarily do mushrooms. They just like identify with I don't know, something in particular. So they put the mushroom behind their name.
No, not
I've seen
really.
a lot of people with that shit. And I think everybody with a mushroom behind their name is a fucking rat and a snitch and a bitch. So if you got a mushroom behind your name and you come in my chat, I do think you're a rat and a bitch and a snitch. And if you have a chat room with a bunch of mushroom people behind their names, you must condone bitch shit, rat shit, and fuck shit. So I don't let rats get on my panel. Like I remember a rat tried to come get on my panel the other day. I'm like, pay your little money, rat. And they didn't have, I guess, they didn't snitch on nobody that week, so they didn't get no fucking reward money, so they couldn't get on the panel. That's how y'all do them. When they sit up there and say, well, we're not going to give you a view, but the only thing we're going to do is string snipe you, that's because you have nothing else better to talk about, you loser. Like, hey, you guys suck, and we're not going to watch you guys unless we're stream sniping. Like, what? So you start a show, and then you click on somebody else's show and you watch their show.
I gotta wait one more day before I can change my name
And then
again.
you complain that their show's not good. But apparently you can't put on your own show, or you can't find any other shows to screen snipe. It's like these people are like dope heads. It's like, I get it. You think you have a moment of clarity, but you're actually just coming out for fucking recovery, and you still look like a bumbling fucking crackhead to me.
Damn.
Like these little moments of fucking nirvana that these people be having, like, we're not gonna watch you unless we're screen sniping.
We're not
That would
gonna
be
watch
called
you.
watching somebody, you retard.
We're not gonna
like, how many
watch
pills
you.
did you pop today? Well, I used to pop 7. Now all I pop is 5. Okay, so now you think you're better or something, but you're still a dope head. that's uncreative and likes to screen snipe people's shows because you can't put on your own.
You talking about
JM? Like you're
JM?
a fucking loser. You just explained to everybody how you're a fucking loser.
JM,
But they thought they did a good job of not saying. I mean, it's retarded, bro. One of these dudes said, "Yeah, we don't give a fuck about y'all. Y'all just be sitting up there talking." It's YouTube. That's what people do on here. Either they're showing you something and talking about it, or they're just talking about it without showing it. I mean, what else do people do on here? What? Yeah, you guys are just talking to each other about stuff and things. Like, yeah, that's what regular people do on here. Except, they don't put mushrooms beside their names and watch videos of 30-year-old men crying. Or, get exposed for some McCamey Manor bullshit. Dude, I love that poll I put out. Dude, I put that poll out today. 53 fucking votes. Do you think JM let strange men rub dog shit in his freaking wife's face? And I'm just pleased as punch that people voted on that goddamn poll. Oh, well, guess what I found today? An old life with a dude smoking crack on JM. Dude, come on. We gotta play that tomorrow. Today is tomorrow. We gotta play that later on today. God damn it, dude. What else is that dude gonna do? Like, yeah, I got my wife's face.
Oh yeah,
It's a pretty big city, pretty busy city. We see a lot of different things day to day, a lot of different things going on. I mean, one day I might come in and have a slow, peaceful day. The other day, maybe real busy, a lot going on, a lot of different things happening. You just really never know. So in turn, it makes it exciting. Looks like just past a hand-to-hand transaction back over there. A Caucasian man, a black male. Go ahead, swing around and see what's going on. Come on, put your hands on the car right there. Put your hand behind your back. One on the radio, one in custody. Hey, yo! Have a seat right here. Yeah, I'm pretty tight. I know. Come over here. Have a seat right here on the ground. On the ground. 109. I got one in custody. I'm trying to get another one. Stand by. Let me see your hands. Drop your jacket.
What's going on, bro?
Let me see the other hand. Kind of give a little bit about what just happened here. Was he ready to turn in at the truck stop across the street? Saw the two men at the phone. They both started walking away. The white male had something cuffed in his hand. Called him back over. He tried to throw down what was in his hand in the street. And I picked it up. Turned out to be a small hit of what looks like to be crack cocaine.
Boy, I ain't gave that man nothing. That man had me about to lose flame, man.
Have a seat. On the ground. All the way down.
Oh.
Go ahead, stand up. Come on.
Ow.
Is that the only hit you had?
Yes. You check everything in my pockets. That's all I had in my hand.
Okay, so he sold it to you?
Yeah. Boy, I ain't sold that man. Now I got my home. I got some money, but I ain't here.
So explain to me all what was going on over here.
He approached.
He snitched quick.
I walked over to the phone and
So pay $30 worth of drugs.
Okay, that she just sold you the one hit though, with the $30 hit.
Whatever that was.
Okay.
I wasn't gonna hide it from you. This is gonna kill my career.
All right. So how did he approach you? Did he come over to the truck stop and get you?
He walked over and all this. And I walked up through here.
So you've done this here before?
No.
Oh, first time? How long you been smoking?
I've only tried it twice.
All right, come on, have a seat over here for me.
Sure.
So what's your story?
I came up here, finna come get me. I'm finna go down there and get something to eat, take my bath.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And Bubba walked over to the damn phone booth, asked me about the blue flame. I told him, they don't serve drinks no more and all that type of ain't no drug transaction being made. I don't sell drugs.
So where do you get the crap from?
Well, I could not tell you that. If I had some crap, well, I would be smoking it. I use drugs. I don't sell no drugs.
Okay. Go ahead, sit right there.
All
right. Got one guy saying that he stole it to.
Yeah. Yeah. Hold on just a second. Hold on.
Another guy saying he didn't. Pretty much what I saw the hand-to-hand transaction that was sitting over there at the corner store.
my money.
Where's your money at?
I got my money.
Where?
Let me start talking. Open it back up. Keep my money cup.
Okay. And how much did you say you gave him?
20 and 2 5s.
20 and 2 5s. Just like you said.
That man did not get. I had that, man. I had that in my
So how do
hand.
you know 20 and 2 5s?
Because that's what I had in my hand.
That's what you had in your hand?
Yeah. I
Thought you said it was cupped in your wallet.
had that in my hand.
Okay. So you didn't sell him the $20 piece for $30.
I ain't sold that man no drug, man. I don't sell drugs. I use drugs.
Okay, well, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna take this little $30 and we're gonna book it in the evidence.
Man, we ain't got to do that, bro. I sit there and told you what went on, man.
And we're gonna run it like that. So y'all both gonna ride down together, and then we're gonna let the judge decide what's really going on.
Man, I can go back, man. Don't take my last money, man. That's all the money I got in the world, man.
He's gone by many names: the Long Island serial killer, the Gilgo Beach murderer, and now authorities say they've identified him by his true name and taken him into custody. We're unraveling the mystery that dates back more than 10 years. Law and Crime Daily, covering court cases from coast to coast. Welcome, everybody, to Law and Crime Daily. I'm Jesse Weber. A major update to a true crime mystery that has haunted the Long Island, New York area for more than a decade. Authorities say that they have arrested a man believed to be the Gilgo Beach serial killer. Law enforcement took Rex Hewerman into custody late Thursday, and his home was being searched on Friday. He's lived for decades across the bay from where multiple sets of human remains were found. He's now charged with first and second-degree murder in connection with the deaths of 3 women, and he's considered a prime suspect in a 4th. Suffolk County prosecutors are asking for Hewerman to be
CBS 2's Mary Calvi takes us inside.
He's gone by many names. The Long Island serial killer, the Gilgo Beach murderer, and now authorities say they've identified him by his true name and taken him into custody. We're unraveling the mystery that dates back more than 10 years. Law and Crime Daily, covering court cases from coast to coast.
Welcome, everybody, to Long Crime Daily. I'm Jesse Weber. A major update to a true crime mystery that has haunted the Long Island, New York area for more than a decade. Authorities say that they have arrested a man believed to be the Gilgo Beach serial killer. Law enforcement took Rex Hewerman into custody late Thursday, and his home was being searched on Friday. He's lived for decades across the bay from where multiple sets of human remains were found. He's now charged with first and second degree murder in connection with the deaths of 3 women, and he's considered a prime suspect in a 4th. Suffolk County prosecutors are asking for Hewerman to be held without bail because of the nature of the crimes, as well as very unsettling internet searches that included child pornography. Hewerman is a married father of 2.
Sick mother trucker, man. Sick.
And a licensed architect in Manhattan. Authorities say they first identified him as a suspect in March of last year, and the task force took over from there.
Our partners and my office, we use the grand jury to continue to investigate, and we executed over 300 subpoenas, search warrants pertaining to this individual to find out more information. One of the things that we did is we followed him because we wanted to get an abandonment sample of his DNA, which we were able to do. We also got DNA samples, abandonment samples from his family. This really supported our decision to keep our investigative focus secret because we knew that one person would be watching, and we didn't want to give him any insight into what we were doing. And we also didn't want him to know just how close we were getting. So we maintain the grand jury secrecy, and we maintain the integrity of our investigation. In addition to those Gilgo searches, he was compulsively searching pictures of the victims, but not only pictures of the victims, pictures of their relatives, their sisters.
Sick.
Twelve and a half years ago, the bodies of 4 people were found over several days buried near a remote beach on New York's Long Island. All 4 women were murdered, wrapped in burlap. They were eventually identified as Melissa Bartholomew, Megan Waterman, Maureen Brainerd Barnes, and Amber Lynn Costello, and they were not the only ones. In the year that followed, investigators would uncover 7 more sets of human remains across 2 Long Island counties, bringing the total to 11. But there were few clues. The case went cold. No arrests were made until now. Tonight, the remarkable story of how authorities came first to suspect and then build a 6-count murder case against a 59-year-old married architect with 2 children of his own and a home in a quiet Long Island neighborhood. CNN's Miguel Marquez joins us now from outside the suspect's home. Miguel?
Yeah, Anderson, I want to show you sort of what's been happening outside this home. This case, these unsolved murders have just gripped Long Island and so many people for so long. Police have been out here all day going through his home, bringing out tons of evidence. And even though they've only brought charges regarding 3 of those deaths near Gilgo Beach, it has been received with enormous relief.
I'm standing here with my law
This is crazy.
enforcement partners in the Gilgo Task Force.
I mean, can you imagine, like, a decade, man?
Announce the indictment of defendant Rex Andrew Hewerman.
Sex workers found tied up, their bodies wrapped in camouflage burlap, dumped near Gilgo Beach on New York's Long Island.
When I took office in January of 2022, I made Gilgo a priority.
The Gilgo Beach murders traumatized and captivated Long Island, just east of New York City, for more than a decade. Now, the suspect, as unthinkable as the murders themselves.
This is a shock. Like I said, 29 years here. I mean, I've seen some things, but this is wicked.
Rex Huerman, 59, charged with 3 murders. Today, the investigation.
Looks like such a, you know, like kind of like a well-to-do type of dude. Like, you know, like he's got his ducks in a row and is obsessed with having his life in a nice order that's peaceful for him. You know, that's just how he comes off. Like that's how I feel.
Continuing, he faces a possible 4th murder charge. Investigators say they identified
Shit, he
Huerman
may end up getting a whole total of 11.
using DNA from the bodies of the victims and from witness descriptions of him and the car he drove. Investigators obtained hundreds of search warrants.
Dude was looking up fucking, like, there's just some things that you just don't get on a computer and type in. And it's kind of like this unspoken thing, but just in case anyone happens to be, because there is, you know, it's just like the hate group that's after me trying to blow that shit out of proportion whenever one of my related searches had to do with it had to do with firearms, and they had a ghost gun, I think, tab or something, or so, and they saw that. So you've seen it's even been in this chat, the account they made called Ghost Gun, and they try to make it seem like, oh, you know, like I'm looking to try to get one of those plastic guns I could just put together, be untraceable. Well, I keep up pretty much with current stuff, and you know, they've made it now, I think a while back, not too long ago, that they're still legal, sure, but they're made now to where they have to be serialized, and they are adhere to the same regulations. So yeah. Another thing, like, you don't go to the dark web, you don't look for things to buy that you can't buy legally. You definitely don't go on there. Like, it's recommended that you don't even look on at regular you know, people, and there's a joke about it, you know, with people and in society, but still, as much as a lot of people do, you shouldn't even be looking at regular porn sites because of the dangerousness of them, the people that's around it, and the, you know, I mean, mainly people think about that and the risk for viruses and stuff like that. But there's just some stuff, like, I guarantee that if you get on there and you try to look up, it's going to automatically send it off to the NSA or some shit. And maybe it's a good thing. I don't know. I don't like the whole concept of an AI thing, watching every move everybody makes. But from what Edward Snowden revealed, they have that capability. So
warrants and subpoenas linking Huerman to temporary burner phones and fake email accounts. Investigators allege he used them to communicate with his victims, taunt the family of one of them, and search for information related to the investigation into the long unsolved murders.
We recognize that these crimes may have happened years ago, but that pain continues.
Investigators' biggest break came when they were surveilling Huerman at his Midtown Manhattan office. He was eating pizza and discarded it in a public trash can. DNA from the pizza crust, say investigators, linked Huerman to the murders. Huerman has been charged with the murders
good.
of Melissa Barthelemy, Amber Lynn Costello.
I mean, not good that it happened, but good that they got the DNA.
And Megan Waterman, all sex workers, all in their 20s. The investigation.
That's horrible. And that just goes to show you, like, how what people call prostitution, human trafficking, it's no joke. And for a filthy animal to joke about it, you know, even though he was joking about it and impersonating me and talking about birds, which don't get me wrong, I really don't have a lot of respect for her, but still, yeah, you know, she is somebody's daughter. You know, I don't like that he used my name and called her dad and all that. I think that was fucked up. And I hope any ladies out there, young ladies or whatever that are watching this, you know, you don't have to do that stuff. You don't have to, like, I know the prospect for fast uh, and large amounts of money is always, that temptation's always out there. But from what I've gathered, the only way that you got avenues of making that type of money is either doing something illegal, getting into porn or prostitute type trafficking things, escorting, drug sales, doing illegal jobs or whatever, all that type of stuff. Like, I don't think anybody out there who might be listening or seeing this, I don't think any of you want to do that type of stuff. Now, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And I mean, all I can say is I just pray for that person or persons. But you guys are, you know, y'all have so much more to offer than stuff like that or being an escort. You ladies, I mean, even like you older ladies and younger ones, like, that's what evil wants to have happen and manifest in this world. Not good.
Is continuing, and he has also been named as a suspect in the murder of Maureen Brainerd Barnes. In all, there were 11 bodies found in and around Gilgo Beach, only 3, and possibly a 4th now linked to one alleged killer so far. Investigators say they've made the arrest now because they feared Huerman could strike again.
One of the reasons why we had to take this case down was we learned that the defendant was using these alternate identities and these alternate instruments to continue to patronize sex workers.
Rex Huerman has pled not guilty and insists through his lawyer that he's innocent. He is an unlikely suspect, a husband, father of 2, an architect working in Manhattan, dealing with arcane building codes. In February 2022, he was even interviewed about his job for a YouTube show.
Rex Huerman, I'm an architect, I'm an architectural consultant, I'm a troubleshooter, born and raised on Long Island.
As for the several
Crazy. I think I might want to hear about this one.
Ms. Taylor, is Mr. Koberger prepared to plead to these charges? Mr. Koberger is standing silent.
Mr. Koberger is standing silent. Doesn't even plead guilty or not.
I'm going to enter not guilty pleas on each charge.
Accused killer Brian Koberger had an interesting arraignment by standing silent. Kerry Rawson, the daughter of infamous serial killer BTK, knows about that all too well when her father did the same. She sits down to discuss the similarities and what we should be thinking about with the alleged murderer of the Idaho Four. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. There is always so much to discuss regarding Brian Koberger, so many twists, turns, odd aspects of the case. And this, of course, is the former PhD grad student who is accused of burglarizing a Moscow, Idaho college house and then murdering 4 college students inside. Madison Mogan, Zana Kernodle, Ethan Chapin, and Kaylee Gonsalves. As Koberger was just indicted by a grand jury and arraigned on his 5 felony charges, and as the case progresses towards trial, we want to get some perspective. And I want to start with a very special guest. I'm joined right now by Kerry Rawson, New York Times best-selling author of A Serial Killer's Daughter, because she is the daughter of Dennis Rader, serial killer known as BTK, who murdered 10 people over the course of 17 years. Kerry, thank you so much for coming on to Sidebar. We really appreciate it.
And thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
One of the reasons we really wanted to have you on is because Kohberger, during his arraignment, instead of actually pleading not guilty to the charges that were read against him, he chose instead to stand silent. And the court basically entered the not guilty pleas on his behalf because he didn't say anything. And we were all thinking, why does this sound familiar? Why does this sound familiar? Well, it's my understanding your father did the exact same thing, right?
Yeah, and it had been a while since I wrote my book. So I'm the best-selling author of A Serial Killer's Daughter. And I actually had wrote about my dad standing silent. And then with everything going on, I totally forgot that Monday. And so I forgot to tell media. And then my friend on Twitter is the one that like reminded everybody. So my father was arrested in February of 2005. I was notified that he was the BTK serial killer by the FBI. So we knew right away that first weekend he was guilty. The FBI called us and told us that my dad was confessing the first 9 to 10 murders, including children. They told us they had found souvenirs from the crime scenes underneath our floorboards.
Wow. Couldn't imagine being her around. That's a lot of strength. All right, we're moving on because I don't want to get hit. I don't think I'll get hit for anything. I hope I'm not. Make sure I look at this. All right, don't seem to be getting hit. All right.
I used to be friends with Brian Kohberger during my middle and high school years. And then before anyone comes at me and says that I'm just running for clout, I'm not. I have pictures that I will show you. I have screenshots that I will show you. If you're a picture that I show you, I went to school with the kid. I was friends with him. I wouldn't make something like this up. I am just in absolute shock right now.
We review the accounts of people who know accused killer Brian Kohberger. Could their interactions with him tell us something about why he allegedly murdered 4 University of Idaho students? Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Let's talk about Brian Kohberger. This is the man who's been charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder and felony burglary for allegedly stabbing to death 4 University of Idaho students. I'm talking about the killings of 21-year-old Kaylee Gonsalves, 21-year-old Madison Mogan, 20-year-old Zana Kirkwood.
May they rest in peace. Let's do a moment of silence for the victims of this case. Amen.
And 20-year-old Ethan Chapin, whose bodies were found in their off-campus home on November 13th. Now that there is a face to this crime, or maybe I should say an alleged face, something has happened. And it's something that happens in almost all of the cases.
Dude looks like I don't know, suave as much. He looks like not suave, but what's the word I'm trying to say? I don't know. In the face, he just looks like I don't know. He looks like one of them guys that you'd think is nerdy. Like I don't know. But it's kind of weird how he has some similarities to Bundy.
Cases that we cover. People who know a suspect come forward. And that is what is happening here. People who know Brian Kohberger have started speaking out. And that's what we want to talk about right now. We're going to go over 5 people, or maybe I should say 5 accounts of people who know Brian Kohberger and their description.
Oh, damn. What were they coming through a school? What's with the colored stuff in the back? I guess that's when he was, because see, he had to be transferred from Pennsylvania back to Ohio. So I think that he took a plane from Pennsylvania and he got handed off from the Pennsylvania people authorities and marshals to marshals in this district and the Ohio authorities there. And I guess that's when he's being transferred more than likely back to Ohio.
Their interactions with him are very important. Why? Because we still don't know why he did this. What motivated him? What drove a 28-year-old
And supposedly, he left that sheath. If the murder weapon was a knife, and there was a sheath for a marine type K-bar knife, and it's one of the ones that has a sheath for it, and there's a buckle. And they said that I think, if I'm not mistaken, the DNA was found on that buckle strap that snaps and locks it in place.
PhD grad student studying criminology at Washington State.
And you'd think somebody studying criminology, forensics, is aware of procedure, a crime scene, all that stuff. Like, you left I trust me, I'm glad. I don't ever want or wish anyone can get away with a crime. But you hear about these people that, when they commit these crimes, and when we find out, like, oh, they were studying this, the question is, like, were they trying to commit and use whatever they were learning to commit something to get away with? And it's hard to say, yeah, in this case, because he makes such a dumb mistake. Like, he's made sure, from what I understand, they didn't find the knife. So he made sure to get rid of the knife, but he had to have known when he had that knife and he was getting rid of it wherever he did that the sheath was gone. Now, I believe somebody had spotted him, which, so he had to get out of there real quick. Perhaps he didn't mean to leave it, and he thought it'd be too risky going back, and so he had to spin the dice with it. But that ultimately is what got him, was them finding that sheath.
To suddenly murder 4 college students who, as of right now, seem like complete strangers to him. There's been no established connection between Kohberger and the victims, which just makes this so much more eerie. It doesn't make sense. Now, I say this again. I'll say it. I said it before. I'll say it again. Allegedly did this. He is innocent until proven guilty. But putting that to the side, we are still going to review the accounts of these people and understand a little bit more. Now, I have gone on record and I have said that even though a lot of information has been disclosed in the probable cause affidavit, the affidavit from police that lists out the evidence that led them to arrest Kohberger, the DNA, the surveillance footage, the potential eyewitness in the house, the car, the cell phone records, I believe that there is a lot more that either is known to investigators that hasn't been disclosed, or that there is more that will be learned between now and an eventual trial of Brian Kohberger.
And one of those critical pieces of evidence that usually comes out later on is the testimony of people who met or interacted with him. Now, I'm not saying that anyone can just testify about Brian Kohberger. At a trial, there are rules, of course, about what someone can testify to and for what purpose. Is it relevant? Is it overly prejudicial? But at this point, we are still in the investigation stage. We are still in the learning stage. Police are asking people who have information on Brian Kohberger to come forward as this investigation continues. And I can't tell you how many times statements that are made by a defendant, either before a crime is committed or especially after a crime is committed, how many times those end up haunting a defendant at a trial, particularly if they say something while in jail to fellow inmates. Many defense cases have been derailed by loose lips in jail. So, of course, the question will be, has Kohberger said anything, or will he say anything to anyone while locked up?
Doubt it.
And he's seemingly going to be there for a while because, as we reported on Law and Crime, we covered Kohberger's status hearing where we learned he will remain in the Latah County Jail without bail as he awaits a preliminary hearing now on June 26th.
Sir, you do understand, and Ms. Taylor has represented here, that she's advised you of your right to have or fully discuss with you the right that you have, which is to have your preliminary hearing within 14 days of the date that you initially appeared before this court. As you recall, when I advised you of your rights, that hearing is a probable cause hearing where the state has to establish that more likely than not, these felony offenses were committed and you are the one that committed the felony offenses. If you waive your right to a speedy preliminary hearing, it does not mean that you're giving up your right to have a preliminary hearing. It simply means that you would not be able to come back and challenge that the state did not present probable cause within 14 days. Do you understand?
Yes.
Have you had enough time to speak with Ms. Taylor about your decision to waive your right to a speedy preliminary?
I wonder, see, usually now, from my experience and from what I've seen with other people that went through court systems and had to, if they knew that there was enough to where they were going to have to plead guilty, work out a deal, preliminary hearings would almost always be waived. Because basically all it's doing is they're solidifying. You ask for a preliminary hearing, then, I mean, or the general rule of thumb or thinking behind it is that if you request and don't waive it, then you really challenge and want to see and are basically asking the state to put up or shut up with evidence.
Do you need any additional time to do so?
No.
Then I will ask at this time as to the 5 counts, felony counts that were charged in the criminal complaint that was filed on December 29th of 2022. Are you waiving your right to a speedy preliminary hearing and agreeing that that hearing can be held outside the 14-day period?
Yes.
Okay, I don't understand
so let's
why.
get to the people that know Kohberger, and we're going to start.
Why did he waive it?
Josh Ferraro. So Josh Ferraro actually went to school with Brian Kohberger. As the news broke about Kohberger's arrest, Ferraro went on TikTok and explained this.
Guys, what's going on? Josh Ferraro here. I went to college with Brian Kohberger. I've been looking at his picture all day. I've been saying the name all day in my head. And I was like, I know this guy. I know this guy. And then he went to DeSales University. I'm like, I know I had a class with him. I know it. The name sounds so familiar. And he looked very familiar, but I couldn't put a point on it. And he lost so much weight. When I knew him, he was a pudgy guy. He was really friendly.
Yeah, he did used to weigh a lot more.
Led my biology project at DeSales University. And he was a pretty smart guy. And he was interested in criminal justice. And I remember having classes with him. And for this guy to do that is beyond me. I mean, he was a really nice guy. And he does not look like that nice guy anymore. I mean, the guy that I'm seeing on the news looks like a cold-blooded killer. The guy that I went to college with, that dude was nice.
People change.
There he is. And he led this project.
People change.
11, 16, 18. Now, I want to make it clear. This was not a close friend. This was a guy I did a project with, and my first impression of him was he's a little odd, but he's
After 3 weeks in the courtroom, the murder trial of Zachariah Anderson has come to an end. We recap all the key moments from court. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. I have covered a lot of stories at Law and Crime, but if there's one thing I can tell you throughout, it is that you have to stay safe, and that is where palm pepper spray can really help. This is a
as charged. As to the second count of the information, the jury find the defendant Zachariah Anderson guilty of stalking Rosalio Gutierrez as charged.
Hold on.
The jury first count of the information, matter state of Wisconsin versus Zachariah Joseph Anderson. As to the first count of the information, we the jury find the defendant Zachariah Anderson guilty of stalking Sadie Beecham as charged. As to the second count of the information, we the jury find the defendant Zachariah Anderson guilty of stalking Rosalio Gutierrez as charged. As to the third count of the information, we the jury find the defendant Zachariah Anderson guilty of intentional homicide of the first degree as charged. As to the fourth count of the information, we the jury find the defendant Zachariah Anderson guilty of hiding a corpse as charged.
So as you just heard, Zachariah Anderson was found guilty on all counts. And the big one was intentional first-degree homicide. But the other ones that you heard were 2 counts of stalking and 1 count of hiding a corpse. Lot to dig into here, lot to talk about with this case. So let's actually start from the beginning. And what we are going to do is we're going to go back to May 2020, almost 3 years ago, and specifically May 19th, 2020. 40-year-old Rosalio Gutierrez Jr.
Hold on. What's that?
Wisconsin, after his girlfriend Sadie Beecham hadn't been able to reach him for 2 days. Now, Gutierrez hadn't reported to work. He had no contact with his children. His credit cards hadn't been used. Nothing. So when Beecham goes to Gutierrez's apartment, what she
Hi, I have an emergency. There's a lady on the side of the road.
Lives of Sherry and her family upside down and leave the nation stunned. Supposedly, after doing some chores around the house, Sherry changed into some athletic wear and set out for a run. She stepped outside her front door, did some light stretching, then skipped off the porch and began jogging down the road. When Keith returned home from work around 5 p.m., his wife's car.
Parabon, which is a private company who does all like the genetics, and we've just hit wall after wall after wall. But recently, we found a familial DNA hit. So what that does, it just tells us it came from a certain person. So like the mother or the father or a son or an uncle or however that is, it just hits out like somewhere in this family tree is where the DNA comes from. So with that, we open up the investigation. We go into who could be within the family. So once we started opening,
I believe it's the part where they're going to reveal, like, you made all this up, which she did, obviously. But I wanted to see it because I haven't seen the moment that the husband finds out. And I can't imagine what it was like for him because, you know, he actually believed that, you know, and imagine how he is feeling. He's feeling probably like one of the luckiest people in the world because his wife is back. You know, she was supposedly kidnapped and all this stuff.
up those doors and looking through the family members and just trying to see Facebook stalking them, criminal histories, just that normal investigation that we do once we start looking into things. We started finding some interesting things. So one of the things that came out to us, is there anything in there that looks of interest or notable?
When DNA testing is mentioned, Sherry scoots her chair closer to Keith's. She may be feeling uneasy and seeking her husband's support. It appears that she doesn't want to face whatever news the detectives have alone. Sherry is sitting remarkably still as she listens to the detective. She may be experiencing a freeze response, the ceasing of all movement and sound, which happens when the mind perceives an immediate threat. It's expected that she would feel anxious in such a pivotal moment, but her body language is indicating that something is wrong.
So the table, the picture's a little grained out. So
there's, to me, I see a table there that somewhat looks like something you've described to me in the past, and then I see wood paneling. Talking about the room.
Yeah, we noted both of those things back in August 2017. Is when we spoke with you about, and you showed us this picture of the table. Do you remember that, Sherry?
Yeah, I do.
And so when we were trolling through this, Facebook page, we saw just the edge of that table.
Yeah.
Denise caught it. In fact.
Oh, cool.
Denise said, "Hey, look at this table." I was like, "Oh wait, you're right."
Yeah.
And it has the wood paneling. So like, well, where was that photo taken, right? And so we were trying to figure that out.
So, okay.
So that's led us obviously now to obviously this Facebook page has a person. It's got like people tagged into it. So it has, so Peter has
But that's still a valid memory, right? Is that this was the table?
Yeah.
A table like this was the table you were on when you were branded?
And we've been talking about that a lot because so many memories are so faded now.
It's been a long time.
It's been a really long time. So were you able to find like where that house is?
Yes.
And what? Tell me more. Tell me more. Tell me more.
We'll get to that.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, tell me more. All right.
So if you look at this closet,
It's a little bit different, but it's pretty, excuse my language, it's pretty fucking similar. But it's different.
so it looks very similar. What's
I mean,
similar?
this is what I'm remembering, that feeling, grabbing it and feeling that feeling. But this part is different. This part is different. That doesn't definitely.
So you see this metal part, it looks the same as what you remember. But this piece right here,
This part doesn't look the same.
window, with the wood paneling. Trying to ignore the TV and stuff. I don't think you had a TV with you, right?
Definitely not.
While a considerable amount of time has passed, so the initial trauma might have abated somewhat, it's still unusual that Sherry is laughing here. It is possible that the laughter is an attempt to lighten the mood or memories, or it may also be more of a nervous response, not knowing what information the detectives are about to confront her with.
What am I looking for the window? Do you want to know if it's like the same height?
Well, the type of window, the wall itself, anything from these photos that make you believe that this was where you were being held.
I feel like this wood paneling is too thick, but I mean,
You mean this
there
way?
was wood paneling, but I can't remember something like that being there. And I don't remember.
So one of the things that we always noted in the bathroom description is just the weird layout of the bathroom. So do you remember the layout of the bathroom?
Yes. Well,
Let's talk about the description, best description, and then we'll start showing.
but there's door, toilet, sink, tub. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, so you walk in the door, first there's the toilet.
Yes.
On the
Right on which side?
If I'm.
She's a
It's been a while.
world, just a general.
I am. I don't know.
But whatever, you walk in the door, on one left or right, you have a toilet, then
I want to say, what? I'm sorry.
That's fine.
I want to say toilet on the left.
Okay. If we could go back to the closet really quick though, I remember when you were talking about being chained into the closet and trying to figure out a way to get loose. You talked about working on a screw, right?
Uh-huh.
And what happened to that screw when you were done with it?
I dug a hole in the wall and poked it into the wall.
Okay. Because this is an interesting photo as well.
This in the closet?
That's in the closet.
No, it was drywall.
It was into the drywall.
It was into drywall, but
Electric plug.
yeah.
Okay. So maybe not that one.
So we're showing you all of this because ultimately this is the house. That you were at.
Her husband just was like, yes.
We talked to the people who live there. We found the house. We found who was involved. We talked to who was involved. We talked to family who knows that you were there. I talked to a couple people talked to one guy who did see you during this event. Unfortunately, there's a lot of truths. There's a lot of things that were said that we have always confirmed, that we've always said. There's a lot of truths, and then there's some unknowns. Like one of the simple ones, like, well, this description of the bathroom is just weird. Like that was like an argument in all of our offices where we were sitting there like this part's weird. But then when we find a house with it, then the all thread through the thing, that's just weird.
Keith appears to be outwardly celebrating their victory, ecstatic that his wife's captors have finally been caught after so many years. Sherry, on the other hand, seems significantly less thrilled by the news. She remains motionless and fixed on the officer for a few seconds, likely another freeze response. When she comes to, she appears to motion for her husband to calm down. The fact that he felt the need to apologize for reacting appropriately may be another important look into their relationship dynamic. It alludes to the idea that he isn't confident in the validity of his feelings.
Oh, shit.
And neither of them are considering the trauma and pain he also went through when she disappeared.
So I think with that being said, some choices and some decisions ultimately changed the original path of what happened. So we'd like to talk to you more about those things, and we can do it with Keith here, or we can ask Keith to lead to whatever you're comfortable with, so we can break down some of the problems. If you want Keith here, all we want is to have the truth. All we want is to be able to tell the truth. That's all we've ever wanted from day one. We talked to you for hours. We've been there. We've done all these different things, waiting for something, waiting for it to break, waiting for us to leak something to hear. Because the DNA came back, like I said, to a specific person. That specific person told us very specific things. His family then told us specific things.
The tension is so thick, you could cut it. What must Sherry be feeling right now? Fear, desperation, despair. Certainly, Keith's stomach is in knots as he registers that his wife had actually been with a man during the time she was gone. Had Sherry run away with another guy? Had someone forced themselves on his wife? Was this another repressed memory that she'd forgotten to mention? Or maybe Keith always knew. His nonverbal communication over the course of the at-home interview communicated that something was amiss. Perhaps he'd had an inkling early on that the circumstances were suspicious. Notice also that she's leaning towards Keith here to get support and encouragement. This nonverbal language is very different from the initial interviews. Keith presumably knows his wife better than most, and likely could tell where her story became fishy.
So we can step out of the room, let you guys talk, because I don't know what information I'm going to do, if it's life-changing news, or if it's, oh yeah, everything's fine. I just don't know what it is. We'll be right back.
The truth is fast approaching, and while Keith is ready for answers, Sherry makes one last desperate effort to wiggle her way out of the situation.
I don't want them to find her. I don't want her to be arrested. I don't want to press charges on her. I don't want to find her. Listen to me right now. I don't know. I don't want them to find her. You're not listening to me. Tell me why. Because she saved my life.
Tell me, honey, there's obviously
Looking at her being right now. I have to. I don't want them to find her. I don't want to press charges, and I don't want to go down that road.
Wait, you tell her?
I don't want to go down that road. I don't want to advise her. Because she saved my life, and she's the reason why I get to hold my children every single day.
So you don't press charges. You still need to find out who it is. You're not making sense, huh?
Exactly.
Last time, if you want to do this alone or with Keith, Keith's been through this also on a different level. I'm ready to move on and throw the dart and throw the rock and see what happens to the water. Look, Sherry, look at me. What do you want?
I don't want her to get in trouble.
She's not going to get in trouble. The DNA came back to James Reyes.
The DNA that was on you belongs to James Reyes.
The picture, and can I get the picture? The picture of the table is James Reyes' little brother. He died recently. We talked to him. He's been on a polygraph. We talked to everybody around him. We have the rental agreements, phone rental, the car rental agreements. We have everything that says that he said he told the truth.
That's James' brother, deceased Nick.
So everything.
Holy shit.
You told us so many truths in this situation. The reason why you can describe the rooms is because you stayed in the room in the dark for hours, for days on end. The reason why you lost so much weight is because you stopped eating. The reason why you got a rash on your arm is because you cleaned his house. The reason why the brand is because he went to the store, bought the branding tools, and branded you. The reason why your nose was broke is because of a hockey stick. I know all of those things, and I know I know all of that because he passed a polygraph test. That said, it's not an abduction. She asked me to come and get her.
No.
I rented a car, drove up and picked her up. He passed the polygraph test, Sherry.
Because polygraphs rely heavily on the skill of the administrator, they're not always accurate at detecting whether or not someone is telling the truth. The detectives know this, but are taking a very direct approach to confronting Sherry with all the evidence they have that contradicts her story, and are using the polygraph results to try to encourage her to finally drop the charade. Despite her verbal refusals, her body language shows that she knows the game is over. She completely covers her face and bends forward, closing herself off from the detectives. Meanwhile, Keith is leaning away from her with his arms crossed, likely experiencing an unfathomable slew of emotions.
That's me.
What's up?
We were friends.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way.
And he came and got you because you asked him.
No.
When was the last time you had contact with James?
His brother died.
Brother died in 2017. Is that right?
I don't remember.
Was it before or after the abduction?
Husband's pretty calm.
Before.
When was the last time you saw him?
Forever ago, when I lived in Southern California.
So the last person-to-person contact you had with him was.
The reason why the brand is in a straight line is because he did it. He described exactly where it was. He told us exactly how he did it, where he did it, how he did it. Only you and I and maybe 5 other people know where the brand was. He told me immediately. Robert told friends and family you were there. his mom knew that you were there because of course it went news and everybody knew you guys dated.
Damn.
Described his bedroom to a T.
And the DNA on you was when somebody would come to the door and be around the property, you'd call James, James would call.
Confused, angry, and embarrassed if they were sitting in Keith's chair.
There were so many truths that were a part of your story that it's hard to decipher the lies until we put it all together. Until he says, hey, how did you pick her up? I opened up the passenger side seat. I opened the door. You jumped in the back seat. Why'd you do that? Why'd you do that? I don't know. It was weird. So are you calling James a liar? Are we not believing James what he told me?
No.
I know you're scared.
Cannot believe that it is James.
I can't believe James told us the truth. You called James to pick you up. You mailed him a letter with your address. You used a burner phone to call another burner phone for James to come and get you.
You're saying since you're married, you haven't called James?
No, I have called James.
Because phone records show that you do. You did. The phones don't lie, the DNA doesn't lie, Sherry.
His polygraph doesn't lie.
So you can go a couple different directions now.
His story.
I already told you lying to me is a crime. So you walk out the store telling lies, and that's a crime.
I think we need my lawyer. This isn't making any sense.
What's not making sense, Sherry? The parts that
That
don't make
it's James.
No, the parts that don't make sense are that you're accusing two females who abducted you when it was James. The part that you were branded, James did it. He told me he did. Who would sit there and say, I branded Sherry on her right shoulder blade? Who does that?
Sherry clearly doesn't understand the importance of the officer's warning against lying. In the face of a federal agent, the consequence for being dishonest increases dramatically. Title 18 U.S.C. Section 1001 states that to knowingly and willingly make a materially false or fraudulent statement to a federal agent is a felony, punishable by up to 5 years in jail. Even a basic denial of wrongdoing, commonly known as an exculpatory no, is unlawful. The only safe alternative for a suspect would be to request an attorney and say nothing more. Sherry eventually has this realization and tries to align herself with Keith by saying, "We need my lawyer." He doesn't bother responding and instead turns his head away from her, a clear indication that for him, there is no we. Keith motions to one of the detectives, seemingly asking for permission to leave the room. He's heard enough. The implications of physically separating himself from Sherry are significant, as if to say that he no longer has anything to do with this.
Damn.
With her protector gone,
That's crazy.
Sherry's on her own now.
You should have told me what you stand.
Keith's been on there. Were there issues between you and Keith? Is that why you needed to leave? We read your text message. We're already aware of some issues.
Can't believe she made that up. All right, that's the ending of this live for now. Everyone have a good rest of the evening, day. Take care. We'll be back maybe later. Maybe soon. Who knows?